Hello, everyone. It is Andrea Vahl, and I'm here with Kirsten Oliphant, aka Emma St. Clair. That's one of your pen names, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so awesome. She is an author, and she's also been in my Facebook ads group. And so I am super excited to connect with her live and find out and talk about what she's been doing with her book ads to her multiple series of books. So welcome and thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's good to be here, and I've really enjoyed the course. And not a shameless plug. It just is really great to have been in there and get all the information. So still using it.
Yay! That's awesome. That's awesome. So one of the big challenges. Well, let's start with how you got started with writing. How long have you been writing? Tell us a little bit about your journey as an author.
Sure. Well, I started when I was a kid, like a lot. I mean, there's some authors who start when they're 40, and I was one of the ones who wrote my first book at 8. It was terrible, but it was like pretty good for 8, right?
Yeah.
So I majored in English, went back and got my MFA in fiction, and then we had not 10 kids. We had 5 kids in 10 years.
10 kids in
different
5 years.
Number. Wow, real big difference. 10 kids in 5 years would be even harder. But I kind of took a break and wasn't writing books because it was too much.
Yeah.
But I was doing blogging and making money doing that and in the social media space. And so I started a podcast for authors, helping with platform stuff because I know how to use Pinterest and Instagram and Facebook and all these things that authors tend to hate. Platform. They just want to write books and have people read them. And that's not the way the world works. So I've been doing that since I think 2015 is when I started the Creative Writing Podcast for authors. And I've been doing some nonfiction books, but lately, the last 2.5 years, I've been making most of my money doing fiction under different pen names, Emma St. Clair, and then I have young adult like paranormal stuff under Sullivan Gray. So
cool. That's awesome. That's so cool. And so, it is such a challenge for authors to be profitable with Facebook ads and because cost per click and a lot of times the book prices, obviously, and you've got
low.
Books that are,
very low.
You've got a range of book prices too. So, so kind of walk us through how you've kind of dialed this all in and what your methods are for that.
Sure. Well, I took your course, which was fantastic for getting me set up with Facebook. Like there's just sometimes where you just need somebody to walk you through the tech step by step because it's nuts. And so I use that to figure out all of the ins and outs. So I know it pretty well. Mm-hmm. And then I took some different workshops and courses from authors specifically. And it's interesting because everybody does different things. And they'll all say, well, don't try this. And I'm like, well, okay. Like I just sat in on a session this weekend from a free summit. And like this week, I started some of the ads based on that. And they're terrible. They're performing so badly. But she's making like couple $100,000 a year. So like they're working for her.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing I found is really just testing what works. You have to, like everybody else, right? You got to find that audience and you need to find the copy that's working. You need to find the images and, that varies even from author to author and even genre to genre that varies. Sure. So you just have to do a lot of testing. And I finally, after losing a bunch of money, and the other thing too with authors is it's very hard to track because and we've got these low price points. So we have several things working against us from the get-go. And the reason it's so hard to track is most of the time we're not sending people to a landing page on our site. We're sending people to Amazon or we're sending them to Apple Books or to a link that says buy from one of these retailers. Mm-hmm. And you really can't track if those sales are coming from that or any of our other marketing efforts. And the only way to track is if you use like Amazon affiliate links because they'll show you, but that's against the terms of service of Amazon's affiliate program. So that's kind of dangerous. And I'm also one of those that I really hate non-disclosure. And so I get really irritated when I'm clicking a link and realize it's an affiliate link and it's not disclosed because that's illegal and I don't like it. I feel like it breaks that trust with whoever the audience is. Not that everybody knows that, but you're breaking my trust because I know and I'm looking to see if there's disclosure. So it's very hard to know. But it's just testing and finding the things that work for you. And I finally got to a point where I'm doing a lot of low cost ads. I have a bunch running to like the first books in my series for sometimes $5 to $7 a day.
Okay.
But often I'm making 50 for that nice. 5.
Yeah.
And so I've tried scaling up, but sometimes they don't scale well, which is unfortunate. Like, that's the big problem. Like, I'm like, great, if that same ratio would work, I'll just put 100 down a day and we'll just go from there. But I test that too. I inch it up and see, what's my cost per click. But typically I'm getting cost per clicks anywhere from 8 cents per click to like 13 is around where I try to stay. Which is lower than most, but our price point. Some of these books are 99 cents. So
And I have found that too, that once you get that audience dialed in, and that for authors especially, I have found really inexpensive link click costs that you can get, especially because you are optimizing around traffic at that point. And so you're getting, and Facebook rewards good click-through rates and things like that. So that is a good thing, that you can drive higher volume. And, but scaling is always a challenge. So talk about a little bit about your process for testing like different keywords and things in your genre. Are you targeting other authors in the same genre? Are you doing anything with your pixel traffic or anything like that?
Yeah. So it's really hard if you're an indie author, which is what I am, where you're self-publishing your books, because you really, you can target authors, but you can't target any indie authors. So there are only like a handful, very small handful in different genres who are even available as an audience. And so you're really having to think outside the box, because sometimes, our books, indie books, it's like any niche, when you dive into it, right? There's all of these nuances, and our books are really often a little bit different than traditional publishing, and indies don't often find success targeting those audiences or having the same book covers. We have to be a little bit more literal with our book covers. Like, you need to know like a split second what genre it is immediately, where a lot of the traditional covers could look more artistic and things like that. So it's really hard with the targeting. I'm finding a lot of success right now targeting some traditional authors, because I have a series that really it has beautiful covers. I mean, that's the other thing. You've got to have a great product if you're going to target these big names. And their books are selling, sometimes their ebooks for $9.99. So it can look like a deal when you have a $4.99 book, or it can look like, what's wrong with that book? Like, why is it $4.99? So I do know some people. And, again, like I've always watching everybody. I know some people doing fabulously well, multi 6 figures with 99-cent books.
Wow.
It's crazy, series, not one book. Like, you really do need a series.
Have a series. Yeah.
And then I know other authors who are pricing, they're like, I'm just going like traditional, and I'm doing $9.99 ebooks, and they're doing great too. So I feel like we all have to kind of look. I watch everybody. I go on pages and the page transparency and look what ads they're running. And just kind of test different things, because again, like I said, what works for me is not necessarily what works for someone else. And so for me, I do test. I like a lot of the, I always forget if it's creative dynamic or dynamic creative.
Dynamic creative.
I always get it wrong. I always get it backwards. But I love those. That has been really helpful to me. And I find my lowest cost per clicks there usually. Now, when I've tried to make super ads with like the best image and the best headline, that doesn't always work. I think, it just doesn't. So I just kind of leave those running. I'm like, if they're working, great. And hopefully, you hope Facebook's going to continue to show the images that are working well, that like, they should, but they don't always. And so, sometimes I'll have to turn something up. I'm like, no one wants this image. Stop showing it to them. So I'll go, click it. But I do just a lot of testing and trying the different audiences at low, even $3, sometimes $3 a day when I'm trying to find a new audience. And, looking at the copy other authors use and just trying to see what those people want from me.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. And I love the page transparency for being able to really kind of see, because you can, go to your other indie authors and see what they're running, but also the big names and see what they're running and just get some ideas from that. So that's awesome. Cool. I love that. And like you said, I think a series is great. And the interesting thing about dynamic creative is that, again, that's one of those things that can work for some people and not for others. I just had a client recently where that's all their previous ad manager was running, was dynamic creative. And it worked for a little while, a few months back, but we were able to pull in and just isolate some of those images and text that was working. And we had much better results. So again, you've got to test it's not always one size fits all for sure. So,
and you can't get comfortable. Like I'm always, which is why I'm constantly like, oh, here's an author doing a free training and they're doing well. I'm going to go to that. I'm going to see what they use. And then, like this weekend, I'm going to try it and then be like, okay, that's not working for me at all.
Good luck with that one.
There's a number of reasons for that, and you try to let the ads run and not go crazy. But once it's spent, $12 to $15 and the cost per click is like, usually I'm right. I said like 8-9 cents and I'm at like $1. I'm like, no, this is not, we don't have time for that. Like, well, and it was an audience I know.
Time to inch that back down.
Yeah. So the only thing that really changed, I tried different copy. I tried different copy in the text that she was using and finding success with, and it did not work at all. So, it's you got to stay nimble. I feel like any of us that are being digital entrepreneurs, and then everything changes. And I'm sure as someone who creates courses, it drives you crazy whenever Facebook's like, a new update, and
I know.
And then you have to go, especially if it's one where things really change, you have to go like re-record how to set this up again, because it's not the same.
It's exactly what I'm doing right now, is re-updating the whole course. It's like a little crazy. I know. I know. So, and sometimes they introduce new things that are good, sometimes not so good. So, you got to test them and then see how it works. So this is awesome. I just got to get back to what else did I have to ask you? I had some other questions. Oh yeah. So what do you love about working for yourself? What is something that you love about doing that?
Well, I would say, I can be kind of a control freak. So I get a lot of happiness from being able to do the things myself and learning those different skills, where some people, I think, they'd just rather hire things out. They'd rather hire out someone to do and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, whatever you need to hire out, whether it's your ads or your social media or those kinds of things. And I can make that choice. I'm just about to hire my niece to be, my VA to doing certain social, and I know how to do it. I just don't have time. And so I do like knowing all those things, because I also teach it and I really enjoy that. I went through the education department in college, so I've always loved teaching. And so being able to do that now, and, we have there's so much freedom, so many tools, everybody's just discovered Zoom since COVID. And it's like, we've been doing Zoom for years, this is, you don't have to teach me how to do it. This is something we've done. So I really appreciate, being able to be creative and think of solutions and learn. I love learning. So just learning new things all the time and picking up those skills, and then be like that sense of pride of like, I've accomplished this. Like I did this. Like I run a business from this little office that makes solid money and pays our bills. Like that's just so cool to me. And I think, from the author perspective, all of these things, the social media and all this has really changed, and just the ability to actually publish books yourselves. I mean, I've gone through traditional and had an agent and sent things to New York and done that whole game. And I may do it again with some books, but I'm making more than I would under most cases. Most authors are, kind of mid-list. I'm making more than I would. And I'm able to, I don't have to wait months. I mean, I put out books pretty quickly because I write pretty quickly. And so being able to control that schedule and to, have the ability to connect with my audience in whatever level I want to. If I want to be more connected, I can share more things with them. I can have Facebook groups for each pen name. I have a Facebook group. I have an email list, and, get to know my readers a little bit. So I love that there are so many options now and choices that we can make. And you can really, make your own career from just a room in your house. It's great.
I know. It's amazing. It's so great. And you're living the dream. Like a lot of authors would love to, be able to just write full time and do that. But you have to, what you're doing differently, I think, is really taking control of your marketing. And that's what, a lot of authors maybe don't want to do. They don't realize how much goes into that, because that's the key to be able to continue to write and do that full time. So that's great. One question I had that we kind of talked about before the interview started that I wanted to just touch on too is, we talked about, you're sending the traffic always to Amazon. Are there cases where you are sending the traffic to your website to take advantage of Pixel or or maybe even grow your email list or things like that?
So, and I know other authors doing this too. So I'll speak to a little bit of what I've seen, because I'm spying on everybody, but I've done a little bit of that. I did, I have, there's a site called Book Funnel that lets people, you can put a free book up and it delivers it so you can get it right on your Kindle. So I don't have to email readers and be like, step 1 to get this book on your Kindle. Cause a lot of my readers are a little bit older, and for the romance, a lot of them are older and they aren't as savvy with the tech stuff. And so even with Book Funnel, where it's like, click here, and your book's on your Kindle, ta-da, I have people like, I don't understand. And so that makes it easy, but I've sent traffic there, through Facebook ads, and you can have a pixel there. They added that feature, which is fantastic. I've done some to my website, and I've actually just recently started playing around with, because I've done so much with ads this year. I've started playing around with using not as much the pixel, but using lookalike audiences with, retargeting, engaged people or excluding them, because I have some ads doing well, but that's a big audience, but Facebook, it's like the frequency is getting up to 3, which for me, I'm like, I'd love to see, there's 2 million people here. I know you're not trying to all 3 times. So I'll kind of duplicate and then, exclude the people who've been seeing it and been engaging with it. Because I'm getting a lot of comments now for this one ad that's been successful for me for like 6 months, but I'm getting a lot of comments like, I loved the book. Like they've already read it and they're still seeing my ad. Yeah. And so I'm like, all right, we need to freshen this up. But I have seen some authors as well. I have a friend who's very, very successful, and she is sending traffic to a landing page, and she has this whole system set up. I think she took like a very high level, expensive course on how to do it, but she's making, like a couple $1,000s per day running Facebook ads directly to and she has her stuff on Amazon and everywhere else as well. But sending them directly to a page, like a landing page, sales page, where she's like, you can get it at these other retailers and here's the link, or you can save $5 and buy directly from me right now. And then she has this whole funnel going through. And so, there's a lot of different ways people are doing this, and a lot of ways to use the pixel, and to just even retarget people that have engaged with things. So I'm starting to do a little more of the high level stuff, and I would love to get in on, selling direct. Like that's a great option, and not being beholden to Amazon, because that can be a scary thing, Yeah.
You're putting they control a lot with that, and you can control the traffic for sure, but they can, controlling the delivery and everything like that is a little scary. So, yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways that authors can do it. I did find for the list growth, it tended to be a little more expensive than some of the other ways that I've grown my list, like the Facebook, but it worked. I did grow my list, but the cost, I think, was a little bit higher than some of the other methods authors are using. So
yeah. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Awesome. Let's see. Oh, you've just had so many wonderful tips in here. Yeah, that's one of the questions, but you've been giving like 25 tips instead of just 1 or 2. So what would you say that you're most proud of in your business? What's something that you've been proud of?
I'm really proud of a lot of it. I think for me, it's never, though I've written, I think, over 20 books now, it's never not exciting to finish a book. There's just something about, and I don't actually even always put the end on the page, but getting to that last page and knowing, I did this. And I think for me, though, the things that make me the most happy, I like that my oldest is 12, my youngest is 4. So even that I'm doing this at all is like, I'm like, okay, that's pretty amazing. And my husband is super helpful. Like this would not work. My kids are too crazy for me to do this with them all like around. But that makes me really happy. But when I get emails from readers, because I really was not a huge romance reader. I kind of thought it was very cheesy. And then I started writing it. And so I was reading tons, and I started to really appreciate it a lot more. Yeah. And so I got an email. There's 2 emails I got in 1 week. One was from a man in his 70s. And he said that he'd lost his wife, and he enjoys reading my books because it reminds him of her. And I was like, this is all the tears. And then I got an email from a 12-year-old girl who read my book and said that she wants to be an author, and she was asking me questions. And so I hit reply and responded, and she was like, oh my gosh, I'm a normal person, but like when you like somebody and you read their books and they respond, it's like this moment of just so I just feel like knowing that these words I'm just typing and putting out there that are making me money are also connecting with certain people. And some people hate them. Like one of my sisters-in-law read one of my books and was like, you can do better. And I was like, I'll forward you an email from my fans who love that book, but you can't please everybody. So.
That's awesome. Well, Jenny says thank you for sharing so authentically. So many great tips. Yeah, that is. You can't please everyone, and that's you just
Especially not your family. Why is it always that way? I feel like
that's awesome. So, just I think you already touched on this, but just what you loved about the Facebook. You've been in the Facebook ads group for a long time, and just what you loved about being in there.
Well, I think that for me, something I love that you probably hate, which we just touched on, was the updating. I know whether it's in your group or you're actually updating the course, you're going to keep things fresh, and we don't have to go buy something new to figure out what's changed. Because there are some courses like that. They're like one and done. It is what it is. And with yours, you're still invested. You're still in the group. We can ask questions. I mean, I think I bought it 2 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And you're still keeping the content relevant. And, even now, I've taken all these different courses, I'll still come back to it and be like, I have a question about this. Oh, I'm just going to go here and get it right away. Whereas, a lot of people would rather, or they think, okay, I don't want to invest in a course. I'll just go to YouTube and search, because there are so many free tutorials. But the thing that I found, and this happens with everything, podcasting. When I started podcasting, I was like, let me look on YouTube tutorials. And every single one was information overload. It wasn't ever quite what I wanted. And it did not help me learn to edit sound. I still was in the same boat, and I'd watch all these videos and it didn't help. And so choosing one person that you trust to listen to, who knows their stuff, is saving you so much time, because you're just not having to search everywhere and maybe getting information that is not valid, because there's a lot of that out there.
Yeah.
And so you're someone who's been in this business for a long time. You're very trustworthy. You have a great reputation, and you know your stuff. And so I know that it's an ongoing thing that we have access to, and it's just a really great resource. I mean, it's more than paid for itself, and awesome. We've got that access to you as well. So it's fantastic.
Yay, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming and giving all this wisdom on a difficult place to be profitable, which is authors. That's great. And congratulations on all of your success and all of your books and everything. That's just so cool. So I'm going to put a link to Kirsten's site in here. Hold on. I had it and then I lost it and then I had it. Okay, there it is. All right. So, and then is there anything, you said you've got some groups or anything you want people to connect with you, especially on?
Well, even if you're not an author, I do have a community on Facebook. You can find everything through the creative writing site, but, and the podcast exists for authors, but I do have a lot of talk about social media and how to do different things. So there are people in my Facebook group on that for the podcast that, there's authors, but we also have a lot of nonfiction people who are searching, for how to market things and how to connect authentically. Because I do a lot of talk about how to run a Facebook group and how to do that well. And so those kinds of topics are not just for authors. There's lots of great tips in there on how to do that kind of stuff. So if you're someone who's looking to grow any kind of platform, my whole thing is kind of growing authentically and not having that smarmy sales pitch that people have. And so the people that tend to resonate with me are the ones who want to build that platform, but not feel like they're constantly having to bug people about it. And so,
yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. And if anyone has any follow-up questions for Kirsten, just connect with her.
Come find me.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Bye.